shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Ones Who Woke Up podcast. This is Joshua, as always, and today I've got with me
Cody O'Dell.
And so, Cody, this is probably going to be everybody who's watching this podcast first time being exposed to you. So give everybody a quick rundown of kind of who you are, what you have going on, where they can find you online and out there in the real world, and how they can support you in both those places.
Sure. Yeah. Cody O'Dell, like I said, kind of a multi-faceted performer, entertainer, stand-up comedian.
Media industry professional.
Yeah, podcaster as well, and musician as well as vocalist. So I'm a percussionist, and I'm involved in a lot of different things. So
we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but best place to find me is on Instagram, Cody.O'Dell. That's really where I'm trying to,
If you're doing something,
yeah,
that's where
if you're on social. Nobody goes to websites anymore. I have one, CodyO'Dell.com, but I don't even update it, so you can go see the last.
I got a website too, and the traffic is abysmal.
There's nobody that does websites now. It's social's where it's at. So, I've been doing stand-up for the last 12 and a half, going on 13 years. Been performing here in Austin as far back as 2010. At Cap City Comedy Club, and over the years a lot. Lived in New York for a few years, did stand-up there, produced stuff up there, shows, and did a lot of cool, fun stuff, and then came back, spent some time in Dallas in the comedy scene there, and then came to Austin, and I had not been involved in a lot of music stuff since early on from when I had done stand-up, and then coming back around here now, the scenes have kind of blended in more than I had ever, experienced before all the bullshit, the lockdown shit. So now post that with all the movement that's happened coming here, it's changed things, but in a lot of ways it's been pretty cool because you're seeing this conglomeration, I guess, or I don't know if that's the right word, but
it's a melting pot.
A melting pot of music and comedy. And the funny thing is I think a lot of musicians wish they were comedians, for sure. And a lot of comedians wish they were good musicians. I'm both. I'm actually mediocre at both. And so
jack of all trades, master
I'm
of none. What I'm talking about.
I'm the best mediocre comic that exists, dude.
You're like at the top of the B scale.
I am exactly, dude. Maybe the C. Honestly.
Do you watch any anime?
B minus, maybe. Huh?
Do you watch any anime?
I don't, dude. I don't.
Well,
I can relate to you where you can get me with that in that realm, and this is not even really that realm, but it's animated. It would be Rick and Morty. So I'm not a big animated person. Like I don't watch a lot of animated things, and I don't read a lot of fiction. I don't
read.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
I'm dyslexic,
I read,
but that shit gives
sure.
me migraines, bro. Like if I read philosophical texts. I was double majoring in physics and philosophy, so I like reading like information dense stuff that I can read slowly and process over time instead of like stuff you're supposed to get lost in. Like if I'm supposed to stare at a dead book and hallucinate, it doesn't really work that well for me. You know?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, man. I definitely I find myself doing a lot of different things. I'm a producer. I've produced a lot of shows, comedy shows mainly. Done a little bit of acting, not a ton.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do? You're probably nothing to like major.
I did some background stuff in New York.
Okay.
I did background like on Crashing.
Okay.
Show Crashing on HBO. I did background on some other stuff, and nothing like where I had much really like other than independent stuff where I've had actual speaking roles, but acting's not really what I'm about. Like,
so so clearly you're doing all kinds of stuff in the media space.
Yeah.
You're producing content that's meant to engage. And what kind of got you into that to start? Where did you kind of take your first step in? Where did that all kind of come to fruition?
I mean, if you want to like go back.
Yeah. I mean,
Really far.
I mean, dog, you're saying you've been doing it for over a decade, bro. Like, I
Well,
want to hear about how it started. You know.
I mean, it started long before that, though. I think in terms of like what drew me to, so music. I mean, I've been playing drums since I was 11. Started taking lessons the summer between my 5th grade and 6th grade year, going into 6th grade.
Hell yeah.
Is when I started playing drums. So I played all throughout middle and high school. I was like drum captain in high school, and I could have gone the music route. I could have gone to music school. I just kind of, after like whatever that was, 7-8 years of playing, you know, I'd kind of lost a little bit of the passion for it that I had earlier on.
Football.
Yeah, and the thing was though that after I stopped playing, it never left. Like the thing that made me want to play, it was always there. And so I've played drumming like over the years, in different things, on and off. And like right now, kind of playing with some different cats. I've been like just jamming mostly with people on like days we have time, and it's fun.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I'll sit in here and there. I'll do stuff at like, you know, around town, see boys and some other spots. Shakespeare's has a thing. But yeah, mostly comedy. But the genesis of where I got into like what I'm doing was really like, I mean, I've always had that pretty, like the desire to get laughter from people. Like I think it's because I'm a middle child.
Were you a class clown in high school?
Yeah. Well, I fancied myself one. I didn't win class clown. I was pretty mad about it.
I actually have.
I wanted it.
I have a most wittiest plaque. I got voted most wittiest in my
Did
entire
you?
high school,
I got nothing, and I'm still mad. I think it was Tristan Maldonado, if I'm remembering correctly. Sandra Day O'Connor, class of 03, got class clown. I'll have to look at my yearbook. And I just want to say, for the record, for anyone that might listen to this, that I think I got shafted on that. I was wanting to be class clown.
Well, I won most wittiest in a school of 180 kids.
Yeah,
I went to a 1A high school out here in Texas. There was, 400 people. There was 1,200 people in the whole town. There was 400 people from pre-K to 12th grade, including staff. Mm-hmm. So my graduating class was maybe 40 people. So, you know, taking home most wittiest there is not really too
I
much
did
to
win
brag
in
about.
band. In band, I think I won clown. One of the clowns, class clown.
You were the band clown. That's fun. What a trophy to win.
We had a band banquet every year, and we would have like awards, and one of them was like essentially the equivalent of class clown, but for just band, which was like, you know, and our band was pretty big. At my high school, it was like a 5A, which was the biggest at the time. Yeah, it was like 400 kids probably.
Yeah. That's like more people.
But I didn't win it on the
school.
Senior level. But when I was a senior, I know when the hook got set, and it was when I was in high school. So my senior year, my good friend Maria, who I had been friends with since middle school, she's brilliant. She lives here in Austin actually now. She graduated from UT Business School, first in her class. That's how good she is. She's legit.
She's a beast.
That's no joke.
She's a beast.
Yeah. And so she was dance team, like at my high school, the dance team cheerleading pep squad every year did a spring show. And it was just a bunch of different, it was just, you know, a show, a review, if you will. And so there were always hosts that were usually juniors and seniors that went to my school. And it was like 2 guys hosting and I would see them in the years before leading up to my senior year. And I was always like, man, I want to do that. Senior year, Maria comes to me in the spring. Hey, you want to host the spring show? I'm like, do I want to fucking host the spring show?
Of course.
This is your boy. Nah. And so, yeah, of course. So I was like, this is it. And then we wrote some sketches for the show, and we did.
So even in high school, the prospect of speaking publicly excited you.
Yeah. The interesting thing is I wanted to be a sportscaster,
you realize
actually.
It's terrifying for most people.
Hey, yeah.
Like they've done polls, and more people fear public speaking than people fear death. Like, it is literally more people's number one fear than any other communicable number one fear that people possess.
You know what that
United
tells
States.
me, though? People's fear of criticism is the biggest, like, the most paralyzing fear they have. Because that's what that is.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know.
It definitely
I'm certain
is.
there's probably a wide spectrum of things that lead to. That's probably the biggest identifiable.
If you break
chunk.
it down, it's that.
Probably the biggest chunk of the pie chart would be just flat out fear of criticism.
If you break it down,
some complex way of communicating.
It's ultimately that. That's what it is. Because I read Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you've ever heard that book, but it's Napoleon Hill. Some of it's not necessarily relevant, but a lot of it is still relevant, even though it was published during the Depression. And it was like Andrew Carnegie basically commissioned this guy to write a book. And he spent 20 years doing research, putting together this book about how to be successful, basically, and like studying successful people. And he wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read it, bro, it was one of those books that's really like a paradigm shifting book for me that I first read it in like 2010. But there's only 6 fears that we have as humans. So if you break it down, and every fear I've ever thought of in the years since I first read this book, there's never been one that didn't whittle down to one of these 6. That's how good. That's how. Yeah. So one of those things is criticism.
And what was the book again?
It's Think and Grow Rich.
By who?
Napoleon Hill.
Y'all check that shit out.
It was published in the
'30s,
and he was talking about telepathy in the 30s.
Well, bro.
In this book.
Yeah, bro.
It's interesting.
Well, on the subject of telepathy, I think that we're all connected, bro. We're all one big organism. Like, literally. Whenever they've determined scientifically that animals know when they're being stared at.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Uh-huh.
And that's because the thing that compels the thing being looked at is also the thing that compels the thing looking.
Yeah.
Right? It's like in Christian talk, they call it the Holy Ghost, right? There is a tether of divinity that connects us to the galactic consciousness that is the sum total of experience that there is in this particular space that we're inhabiting right now.
Sure.
And so I think it's absolutely within the realm of possible to be able to communicate non-verbally within each other's minds. Like, that's something that can absolutely happen. And furthermore, I believe that the universe is infinite. And so if the universe is infinite, then it's a mathematical impossibility for the thing that we're talking about to not exist somewhere right here, right now, because it is infinite. You cannot dream up something that doesn't exist somewhere within the realm of infinitely accessible multiverses that exist right now. That's why
everything everywhere all at once.
Well, and that's why life imitates art. Like, it's obvious why art imitates life, because that's its derivative. But why does life imitate art afterwards? And it's because, bro, that's like, this is going on. That's why Biggie can go blow up like the World Trade Born Center, opposite of a winner, and then fucking 12 years later or however many years later, that shit gets knocked the fuck down.
Yeah, well, he was referencing the bombs that went off.
Either way, but
yeah,
the point is that we're swimming in this soup of information. And like, whenever I tell you to think about where you were this morning when you woke up, right, and you see that place in your mind's eye, that's the thing that makes you going to that place physically in space and time and channeling it back into this body right here, now. And so, okay, if that's how it works, then that's also how it works whenever I tell you to think about the place of success, right? Like, your goal, the place where you want to be, and wherever it is, that thing you're seeing right now, that fucking place is fucking real, bro. And it's real right here, right now. And every time that you put yourself there, it's like you're forging a path through the woods. And every time you go, you might have to take a different path. But after 100,000 times of you walking through those woods within the 5th dimension to get to the place that you want to get to, before long, you forged a trail where just getting to that place is the path of least resistance when you walk through the woods. You don't have to put any effort into it anymore. You just walk along the trail, and that trail leads you to that place that you're gunning for. And so whenever they talk about, like, The Secret and the law of attraction, buddy, there's something going on there. I don't know if they necessarily have the metaphysic right, and I don't know if I necessarily have the metaphysic right, but I'm telling you right now that, in my personal opinion, based on the things that I've experienced, our thoughts matter. And like, the places that we visit within the 5th dimension with our mind's eye are things that will become attracted to us whenever we give those things attention, because it forges a path between where we are and where those things are in the future.
Right. Yeah. As we seek, so shall we find. Yeah.
That's a fucking perfect way to reduce that down.
Yeah.
I saw that high on a 10 strip of LSD, meditating in my bedroom in silent darkness. Me and my cousin.
Sounds like a good one.
Oh yeah, me and my cousin ordered $200 worth of hash, and $200 worth of LSD showed up.
Okay. Wow.
And yeah, and so we were like, all right,
dude.
and so we both took like 5 hits. And before this, I'd never really taken any high dose psychedelics. I'd only taken like a single hit or like a gram or two of mushrooms while I'm also drinking and going to festivals and shit. Like, you know, never really got to like experience that shit, bro. And
yeah, dude,
it jerked me around. It jerked me around.
I bet, man. Yeah, I've had a few different experiences.
I want to hear about them all. Bro.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Because I'm awesome, dude. I thought before this started, like, I should go pee, and that's why I'm here now. But in that reality, I already went pee, but I need to pee right now. So
do it.
I'm like,
do it.
I'm not gonna be able to be like thinking about much else in the moment until I do that. So give me like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Where is the restroom at?
If you go out the door, take a right until you hit the dead end. Take another right, and it's right by the front door.
Got it.
This motherfucker didn't piss before the podcast. Runs his own podcast. The man runs his own podcast. This is one of the. I didn't go so far as to tell him to relieve himself before the show because I assumed that this man knew the drill because he runs his own podcast. Damn it, man. He's gonna have to learn this lesson. He needs to tell all his guests, for sure, to alleviate themselves before they come into his podcast. That way, he can avoid this landmine. It's like everybody who's listening is just stuck here in purgatory with me. We could all close our eyes and meditate for a few seconds. Just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Listen to your breathing. Listen to your heartbeat. Calm your mind. Take your tongue off the roof of your mouth. Release the tension in your shoulders. Breathe in through your mouth. Listen to your breathing.
You still hot?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I just bagged on you for the whole piss.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was something to the effect of I didn't tell you to piss before we went because you have your own podcast and I figured you knew the drill. And fucking silly me.
I wanted to, before we get into the psychedelics thing, we can talk about that. But I wanted to dig into this fear of criticism thing because I think it's interesting that people are so. What you're saying is accurate, but also that's the case. Because what drives that? You know, that's a curiosity.
Well, you know, I think I don't know if it's necessarily a fear of criticism when it comes to public speaking, because I've met people who are cool with being criticized, who just don't grapple well with anxiety in the moment. Right?
Well, what is it? Why is it that they're afraid of it? Is it because they're afraid of what people will think about them?
Sure. But what I'm saying is that, like, whatever little thing, like maybe the cause of the fear to start is the fear of criticism, right? But the thing is that most people, or I feel like not maybe necessarily most people, but a lot of people can get over that. But the thing that makes it more difficult for people to get over it is because they're locked in a moment where everybody's watching them. Like, there's no time for them to stop and go, let me gather myself, right? And so you're like blade dancing, right? Like it's like you're taking someone who's never swung a katana and throwing them into a sword fight, right? There's no room for error whenever you're there in front of everybody, and whenever things start to go right, people lock up because they know it's going wrong, and then they just, that anxiety hits because things aren't necessarily going perfect, and they don't know how to grapple with that anxiety, right? And maybe the thing that's triggering the anxiety is the fear of criticism, like you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that I would like to dig into more is how to get past the crippling anxiety in those moments of when the chips are down, right? Like when there's 1,000 eyes on you, the chips are down, homie.
Yeah.
And like when the chips are down is when most people lock up because there's no room for them to pivot and move like they want to. They have to fucking make decisive action. And people who do well in those moments are Zen people.
Yeah.
People who are out of their own way. people who aren't thinking about it, people who, the guy.
Well,
the guy who
you know what it
throws
is,
a
bro.
touchdown-
It's people who realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you think about the grand scheme of things, and we're talking about these universal infinities of different multiverses or whatever, bro, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. And if you can know that, then yeah, you can be in a moment and not have any worry about what other people. I think it was Marcus Aurelius, right? Something to the effect of, oh, we love ourselves the most, but we're more worried about other people's opinions of us than we are of our opinion of ourselves. Basically, I didn't. He said it more eloquently.
Paraphrase it.
It's a paraphrase,
Paraphrase.
but essentially, yeah, we're more worried about what other people's opinions are of us than we are of what our opinion is of ourselves. And
lot of
if your
people are like
opinion
that.
of yourself is built in security and being, hey, I know what I am, and I'm confident in that, and I'm not afraid to say something, and it's also life experience too, and getting older and not caring as much about what people think about you. But ultimately, some people have it very early. For me, it started out as a rush, that adrenaline, because you're not wrong. It was a scary thing. In fact, I would have probably started stand-up a lot sooner if I hadn't been so terrified of getting up there and doing it. Once I did it and broke my cherry, it's I was I knew I could do it, and I just had to get through. And then over years and years of doing it, it became less and less of a thing that, there's really not very many situations that can rattle me at this point.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it's very rare for me now. Whereas early on, it was pretty much all the time up on stage. Yeah, for sure.
Bro, for me, when those moments when the chips are down, I've always been that dude. Shit goes into slow motion for me. I zero in. I'm gonna get what I need to get done. I'm the guy who hit the deer with the rock when we needed to eat.
Do you not think that everybody is capable of doing that if they really believe that they can?
I think everybody's capable, and because we're all outfitted with effectively the same mechanisms, right? Everybody's effectively set up with 99% the same hardware.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so everybody's capable of doing anything that anybody else is capable of doing.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is that people get in their own way. Everybody's locked in what I would call the Western problem-solving state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And that's really, really good for maintaining profitability for oligarchs, but not really great for the actualization of your higher self.
Sure.
And that's just really all it comes down to is we need to jolt people out of this state of mind where they're always processing things through the filter of how it relates to profit and how it relates to their survivability. You know what I'm saying? And give someone a 10 strip. Give someone a 10 strip and have them meditate in silent darkness, and the thing is going to deliver itself to them on a silver fucking platter.
That's not going to happen. But yeah, I think as it pertains to the fear, it's also you're platforming yourself. And when you do that, you put yourself up for social criticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah,
you're putting your social credibility on the line by being up there, and by doing that, risking being a social outcast. And people are terrified of being a social outcast
one wants to be a leper.
being a social outcast now, the fear, the core, the visceral pain. Because speaking from somebody who I've fucked up a lot, bro. I became a social outcast in a lot of circles that I was in that I didn't want to be, and I felt that. It's that fear, though, in a sense, that at its core of where it comes from, if you were talking from an evolutionary psychology standpoint, would be in being excommunicated from the tribe, which meant basically almost certain death. I mean, yes, you could survive if you were a gritty, but it would mean that your life was basically...
If you were that fucking badass back then, you weren't getting excommunicated from the tribe.
Yeah.
You were too valuable.
Yeah. Well,
period. If you were able to survive on your own,
but
you weren't getting kicked out.
But what I'm saying is that being an outcast from a tribe, in a sense, whatever your tribe may be, is painful and it's scary. And so I think part of it is rooted, the fear is rooted in that too. And there's that's not necessarily even a fear of criticism. That might really actually be a fear of death, because that's a thing that if you're an outcast, the fear that triggers down deep
Well,
is that fear of being.
It's rooted in self-preservation.
Yeah.
Right? I can't go in front of everybody and subject myself to potential ostracization from all those people, because the more people I'm ostracized from, the lesser chance it is for me to survive. Right?
Well, yeah, and you see it in the world we live in now, too.
We're literally a tribe, like you said, bro. We all get where we're going together.
I mean, it's like people get canceled. And it means their livelihood and everything.
Yeah, it's a bitch, bro. There's some
it's
wild shit going on these days, bro.
Yeah, there is some wild shit, and people are there's this notion that started to exist, and I think it's only been in like the last 5 to 7 years I've noticed it in like from a large scale, like social level, in terms of the conversation, like that things are supposed to be fair. Like I just, that notion to me is so foreign, especially as a man, because you're a man and you know life fucking sucks a lot of the time, bro. And this idea that it's supposed to be fair and we're supposed to, like, I don't hate on somebody that if there's a thing that needs to be adjusted and like we need a correction because, you know, but there's a certain level of that, and then there's a certain level of this idealism that far exceeds anything that's actually like war, for instance, is never going to end. And I say that because war exists on the cellular level within us. That's how at war we are. Our cells are at war all the time with any invader coming into our body. It's war,
bro.
Bitch, you're in my shit,
bro. White blood cells and red blood cells are at war with one another.
Exactly, but it's
our
like
shit is fighting itself.
That's how you know that war, though, on the human level will never end, because
it's a part of the normal it's part of the normal maintenance of homeostasis for the thing that we inhabit.
It's the system correcting itself, dude. But as gory, as fucked up as that is, and I'm part of that too, and you're part of that. We're all part of something bigger than us, and we're just little moving pieces within a much, much larger, grander thing that's not even really definable.
I like to tell people all the time that we got brains better suited for cracking reindeer skulls with clubs than for podcasting.
Well, speak for yourself, bro.
Well, you know, I tell you what, I know whenever if we walked outside and it was the apocalypse.
1995 called and they want their fanny pack back. So,
bro, I'm on the cutting edge of what's cool. You know what this you know what this communicates? This communicates I got pussy waiting on me, bro.
That is exactly
this sends fucking big dick energy everywhere, bro. I fucking know exactly what I'm doing.
That is the big slinging dick energy, bro.
That's
that fanny pack,
bro. This thing hides a hammer, bro. You better fucking believe it.
Hey, man. Delusion. We are the reality we live in. You know. Hey, so listen. I don't know anything, bro.
Hey,
so
man.
I'll blow
I'll blow your fucking bussy out tonight, motherfucker. This shit can get wild. You want to start asking questions about this fanny pack? I can show you what this fanny pack's about.
Dude, we'll talk about it later.
When the cameras are off, man, we'll fucking see just how far we can take the weirdness.
There you go.
Keep Austin weird. But so the conversation was about the primary fears, and one of them being the fear of criticism, and how that relates to how being criticized leads to excommunication from the tribe, and how that leads to the gut human fear of being put in a less survivable situation by being excommunicated by the group. At the end of the day, life's a team sport. Yep. You don't want to go about that shit solo. Mm-mm. There's a reason they put motherfuckers in solitary confinement as a punishment, dude. Like, for real, it is. There's
a reason it's a padded cell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, motherfuckers will literally put their face through the wall to get a hug. For real.
I mean, it's that's truly torture.
Have you seen the studies where it is, and
that's the realest torture that can exist.
It's inhumane,
honestly.
But then again,
that's why in the Shawshank, bro, that scene hits hard when he gets thrown in the hole for 2 months or whatever it ends up being. Like that, the fact that you would come out of that different as a human for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that
would be life changing. And that's 2 months. That's not even that long if you think about it. It's like 2 months. How fast does 2 months go by these days? With our busy lives,
in a cell,
2 months in solitary, dude.
That's forever.
Is might as well be an eternity, bro. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time.
That's a really, really
long time. I mean, that's like, and in a hole in the dark with literally like only a little bit of light every now and then. You like your eyes might be even like forever, like morphed after that. You know, like who knows? Like that shit is. Now that's extreme, and then the movie, obviously that's a movie, but Solitary is still really fucked. It's not like, I think it's one of the most, honestly, if you want to talk about serial killers, I know the death penalty feels good, but you know what feels even better? Watching a person suffer in a padded cell for the rest of their days. That is like the only thing they could do is like stop eating food, which some people might, you know, they might hunger strike it.
They've already had hunger strikes. They'll fucking shove a tube down your throat and shove fucking nutrient paste down your gullet and keep you alive because you're the burden of the state and they cannot let you starve.
Dude, that is crazy. So then, yeah, I mean, you could throw it up and they're like, we're gonna put your throat back down your throat, bitch. Now.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like we could keep going. We can keep on this game as long as you want, or you could just eat the food and enjoy it. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, the shit they were doing at Guantanamo Bay back in the day, that was like Guantanamo Bay shit.
Yeah,
that's what they were doing.
That would be though to me the highest form of torture that could exist, because like that would be worse. That death is a gift to the people. The gift you give serial killers is taking their life away. That's a gift to them. Because they're no, like, the way you could punish them the most is by making them sit alone for the rest of all the time they exist. It's like that, like, think about that just the sound, the idea of that being just you right now being put in this room, they take all the shit out, there's just a toilet and whatever, and then this is it for the rest of all eternity.
Oh,
that sounds like,
yeah, I've been in jail. It's miserable.
Well.
It's like miserable. Like,
anyway,
fuck all that.
I don't even care, honestly, about capital punishment. Honestly, I don't care about. I don't have opinions about like the death penalty. But yeah, I think that would be.
We do have opinions on what's a more effective form of torture.
I'm talking. Yeah, if we're talking about how are we gonna punish these motherfuckers, let's talk about it, because like that's a way bigger punishment.
Oh, bro,
it's not a gift to live when you're living in a like that. That's not a gift,
bro. Bring
because in the ideas of in the minds of the people that are against it, it would be that. The life, being alive is a gift, right? But that's not the case when you're in prison, especially if you were in solitary. Like it's the opposite. Life is a curse at that point. So you're cursing them by making them live.
Yeah.
Like that's logic.
That's
right?
a bitch is what that
that's
is,
logic.
bro. I would be very upset if I was stuck in that type of situation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fucked up people, bro.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I bag on the police a lot. But at the end of the day,
my dad was a cop for 35 years.
I come from a family of police. That's the reason why I can't stand them.
SAPD. Yeah.
We got a saying in my family, there's two types of criminals, those who hide behind bushes and those who hide behind badges.
Yeah.
My grandpa was
but yeah, that's cool.
My grandpa was the warden of the biggest prison in Houston. I have literally over a dozen police officers in my family. And
I think the higher the level of organization, probably the more corruption you see.
Well, I mean, bro, let's be really frank. Like, when Taylor became a city, they needed a sheriff. Or a police chief.
Hired a sheriff.
Who do you think they went to? They went to the guy who was leading the band of vigilantes locally. And so our police departments are literally 3-4 chiefs away from being literal Klansmen. It's just a fact.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're not anymore.
That's a fleeting ass hope, my man.
I mean, or at least not publicly.
Yeah, these colors don't run. Punisher symbols.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, brother.
Yeah, it's
fucking, man. I got some backwoods in my family, man.
It's wild, but the point is that we do need them. Like, you know, like there are fucking serial killers out there, and we do need first responders.
Yeah,
and
you're also talking about one town. Like, if you're in looking at a department, like any regular city, United States city police department, we're pretty big, right? You know, but like, I think most cops, like, it's a decent career and they're just trying to do their fucking job. Like, I don't think that cops, I don't think there's a lot of guys that, I think there are some, don't get me wrong, I do. I think there are some, but I don't think it's the level of, I think to do it, and especially in this day and age, bro, when everyone hates cops, bro, like that opinion is the normal one, right?
You saw Pineapple Express, right?
Huh?
You saw Pineapple
Yeah.
Express? Whenever you went, fuck the police during the premiere, it got a standing ovation.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And my dad was a cop for 35 years, never once fired his gun on duty other than to kill a dog that was charging at him. And understandably,
I mean, I guess.
Sorry, Cujo. But outside of that,
Would
literally
the
35
would the
years.
animal patrol person have shot that dog? Like, seriously, like if the animal patrol person with their training had come out, would they have shot that dog? Probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know. But you don't have time to think about that when a dog's coming at you that's ferocious and could be rabid for all you fucking know. I mean, like,
Oh,
dude,
it's just I'm just saying that
that's
I'm just saying that the point that I'm working towards is that it's an inadequacy in the training, right? Like if the animal patrol guy can go out there and handle Cujo, then so should the police.
I mean, yeah, sure. If you want to go that route, yeah, you could say you could train police to be animal control people, but that doesn't account for reality. Okay,
No, I mean,
like
that,
you don't
no,
have
I mean,
time
that is reality.
to
Like,
call.
no, I mean, that is
but
reality.
that's
There
like
are
this
dogs.
is like.
There
Have
are
you seen the
dogs.
movie? Probably with Tom Hanks playing Sullivan or whatever. They're like reenacting the flight sequence for Sullivan, the Hudson movie. About the plane that crashed in the Hudson, right? The Hudson River. The hero captain that like somehow landed it after they lost both engines, like coming out of LaGuardia. This was like 2009.
Sure.
There's a movie about it. Tom Hanks plays the captain in the movie, so you haven't seen it. So I'll explain to you what happens. So in the movie, like basically, there's a big hearing after the incident. Obviously, every major aviation incident has an FAA like public, whatever they call those things, assembly. So. Yeah, and in the movie, it's telling the story of what actually happened, which was that they were reviewing everything that happened and basically saying that because he didn't return the plane back to the airport, that would have been the cheapest for them, right? So they got to look at this and say, this cost us a lot of money for this to happen, and could we have avoided this money being costed to us if the pilot had done a different job, right? And so they run a simulation based on all the parameters. They enter them into these simulators to see if given those parameters of what they were working with when they lost engines and all that stuff, it's like it would still be possible to land the plane in a simulator. Obviously not in real life, but in a simulator could it be done. And the pilots all were able to do it. And then in the movie, basically they stop and they're like there's a moment where they're like, it's looking like Sullivan, like this guy that was a hero is going to be all of a sudden the
held liable for not. So I think
But let me finish. So he explains basically in the movie, he's like, you're not accounting for all these variables that are existing. And then like the amount of time that we had to make a decision, right? It was very limited. And they were operating on this assumption that as soon as that timer started, whenever in the simulation, that they were working to fix the problem. Okay, if that means you have already gone through the process of diagnosing the problem, and like you already know everything you're working with, right? So you have the benefit of hindsight to be able to make so quick decisions. He says you need to shorten the time because by the time we went through all our checks after we're like figuring out what the fuck's even happening, this is how much time we have left. And then when they did that, they go back to the simulators, and guess what? None of the pilots could land the planes at an airport. So basically, it's like as it pertains to cops. Number one, when a cop shoots somebody, it sucks. Sometimes it's wrong, but very oftentimes, regardless wrong or right, the decision to have to pull the trigger is made in microseconds sometimes. So you don't have the luxury of being, when a dog's running at you, you don't have the luxury to be able to go get your pole that I'm sure an animal control person shows up ready to handle the dog. A cop's not on a general day in that way going to be ready to handle that kind of dog. So if you account for that sort of thing, then yeah, my dad killing a dog makes more sense because it's unfortunate, but that's what happened. So I'm just trying to explain how
I get it. I'm not
what
saying
you're idealizing is
you're
great, but it's not reality is what I'm trying to explain. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I get this. It's not the reality we're in currently.
My levels
right?
are super high, by the way.
It's all good. I can work shit out in post. But again, it's just because it's not the reality we're in currently doesn't mean that it isn't a reality that we can strive towards, right?
Sure.
Like because what you're leaning in towards is like kind of almost fascisty, right? It's like, well, if you don't like how it is, fuck off. Well, no, if I don't like how it is, we need to work towards something that's better. You know?
Well, I that's fine. We can work towards something better, but we have to operate from a paradigm that we agree on. Sometimes there's circumstances that are unpredictable, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you train.
Yeah.
Sometimes things go awry.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like that chaos element of life, of existence in this paradigm that will never not exist. That's all I'm trying to say.
And I think that anybody
so
who's...
I'm not trying to advocate for...
No. Well, and I think anybody who's realistic, like, appreciates the police who are going to go and put themselves into those chaotic situations for the sake of people's safety. But then there's also the reality where the police have gone to the Supreme Court and defended their right to prove that they're not there to defend people's lives. They're there to enforce laws. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like there's always like real noble conversations that we can have about these guys just being good guys. But like when it comes right down to it, they go to court and they defend their right to not have to be good guys. You know,
I mean,
it's just
yeah.
it's just a wild deal.
No, I mean that's a perception I think that people have. But I mean I grew up, like I said, I was a cop. Basically, all his buddies were cops.
Oh, that's not a
so I hung
perception,
around
that's
a lot of
fact.
cops,
Like, that
and
happened.
generally, like these dudes were good people that were not trying to like, you know, exploit their power and authority or abuse the system for their gain in any way. Like
Most
guys are that, but I think that again that's a life thing with anything.
Well, most of those guys I don't believe are doing anything out of malice. I think that they're effectively enforcing laws for 1,000 guys on an island who have put together laws that aren't moral or ethical. Right, like that's the big issue, is that these guys are roped into I'm just doing my job. Well, just doing my job involves enforcing laws that are immoral and unethical. And so, at the end of the day, they say in the Navy that I'm just doing my job isn't an excuse, it's an indictment, right? And so I think that we need to quit allowing for, like, qualified immunity. I think that there needs to be, like, you went through that nut check and you made the wrong decision and now you're held accountable.
Qualified immunity, can you explain? I don't know what qualified immunity is.
It's where, it's like if a surgeon kills you while you're under the knife, they're not held liable.
Okay.
It's like if a cop does something wrong
Do
while
you
they're under the
think that
knife.
that's fair for a surgeon to not be held liable if they accidentally killed somebody when they were operating?
I mean, potentially.
Yeah.
It really depends on the level of malpractice, right? Like that's why they do these investigations, right? But
so
again,
couldn't that same reasoning apply to a cop?
well, but here's the thing: is that we don't get to investigate the cops. The cops investigate the cops.
Well, it depends. Internal Affairs will investigate for sure, but if it's a level of something where there's going to be an indictment, then that's a criminal investigation that goes to like the judicial system.
That's just like all fucking lock and key, lock.
Yeah, but that's
together.
a different discussion though. Like I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but I'm saying that discussion, like the conflating the two things, I don't think is what you want to do because that's
just where the conversation meandered.
Sure. But I'm like, for what a police officer does, I mean, like, it's generally, like, they, I think the best rule of thumb with cops, if you want to ask me from the son of a cop, and a guy that, I joke that my dad can't turn it off. Like, he's still got cop brain, even though he's removed over a decade from retiring.
Sure.
He's still got cop brain.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, man, cops just want to be treated with respect, and they just want to, and we should, and the reason we should is because doing that job, number one, is hard, and they're taking on a responsibility, regardless of whether there might be people that abuse that or whatever. There is a certain level of risk they're assuming. My dad nearly died in his career, and there's a lot of guys out there that physically, like something happens, like. It's a job that lends itself to the possibility you could die, and it's a realistic thing. It's like not a It's not a like haha in jest. Like it could happen, it could happen any day, and and it's from out of nowhere. So
for real.
So we should all give a level of respect the same way we do the military. I'm not saying I agree with either.
Well, I mean,
I don't
the same
think
way
the
you
military
give the same way you give the respect to the cashier at the gas station.
Yeah,
dude, like you respect.
Be kind.
You respect every fucking.
That's
client.
all a cop wants.
But
that'll alleviate a lot of problems.
But so I want you to understand that it can be difficult for people to maintain a respectful demeanor whenever they're having to make those decisions under duress, because whenever you get pulled over for failing to maintain financial responsibility, right? Like you didn't get your registration sticker done, it's 30 days overdue,
right?
And the cop pulls you over, that's under threat of death. Like if you decide that you don't want to fucking be there no more, you don't want to be actively held hostage by the state any longer,
sure,
and you decide to leave, he'll call in his buddies and they'll use whatever amount of force they need to stop you over failure to maintain financial responsibility, up to and not limited by calling in the fucking National Guard. And so whenever people are literally facing the National Guard every time they get pulled over for something as simple as not having tickets paid, it makes it really difficult for people to maintain a respectful demeanor.
Well, then,
and I can understand that.
But if you cooperate, then Like, there's not a reason that you should fear death in that situation. Like, even if they're trying to arrest you, just let them. This is why I say so many police brutality incidents occur when there's a resistance of an arrest.
Well, but again,
I think that alone. Listen. I'm going to probably agree with you in a lot of cases that this is fucked and the cop's in the wrong here. What I'm saying, though, is fight it and go to court. It's not worth your life to make an ideological stand.
And what I'm saying
That's
is,
what I'm
and
saying.
so what I'm saying is that
you make a martyr out of
and
yourself.
what I'm saying is that mechanism, the fact that if you are to try and stand up for your rights that you know are yours as a human, you're now making yourself a martyr just by going, hey,
You
I don't
have
think this
rights.
is right.
Didn't you listen to Carlin?
Sure, right. But what I'm saying is that most people aren't that woke, right? And so it's just a bother, right? Where literally where you're facing that, right? And
I just generally think that attitudes towards police,
bro,
I think that it's way overblown. I think that what has happened is sensationalism in the media of a very small fraction. Like I just said, my dad was a cop, 35 years, never used his weapon on duty once towards a person. Not once, 35 years.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
And that's most cops.
That tells you he did a pretty good job. Yeah. And that's probably most cops.
And that is most cops.
Exercising restraint, so do I think that probably training is very poorly adjusting yes. I think
bro.
that that's why I think defunding the police is stupid, and I think Jocko Willnick is right in saying that funding the police is the best thing to do, because if I can say that these guys, they're not prepared to deal in hand-to-hand physical
need
combat.
proper training.
And that's also why you want to go controversial here. That's why women, I don't think, really have much business being cops, at least anything outside of administrative type positions. There's a great Clint Eastwood scene from a movie where he talks about that. And it's not a sexism thing. It's a logical, rational,
there are
reasonable argument.
There are physical differences in men and women.
Yeah, there 100% are.
There's a reason why they don't let men and women fight in MMA.
Yeah, well, unless they
identify
as a woman.
Yeah, well, unless there's certain conditions that are met, right?
Right, which is literally just you're changing your mind. But hey, whatever.
I had Alyssa Westerland on the other day. Are you familiar with Alyssa?
Maybe.
Oh, she's a wild
I feel like
woman.
I've heard her name.
Either way, she has a bit about transgender people, and it's like, you feel like you were born into the wrong body. Cool. How you think ugly people feel?
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker. Like, you don't just get to identify as pretty.
Yeah.
Everybody's fucking stuck in a body they don't want, dog.
Yeah.
But
no, that's where this life's supposed to be fair bullshit.
My thing about the trans stuff, and I want to preface this by saying, I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life. You want to go fucking do the whole thing. But I think that a lot of people are actually just getting caught up on words, right? Like, whenever you're a 4-year-old, right? And you're a boy, and you're into pink.
Yeah.
Right? That's okay. You can be a feminine boy.
Right.
You can be into skirts. Motherfucking dudes in Ireland wore kilts for ages. It was a masculine thing. Like, you can be into whatever you're into as a man, and you can be the twinkiest little guy ever, right? But you're still a guy. I just think that whenever you come up and they go, oh no, that pink, that's for girls, and they go, oh, that Barbie, that's for girls. They go, oh, the little, whatever thing, all the stuff that they say is for girls. Well, they go, well, I'm into that. I must be a girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're just a feminine leaning boy. That's fine. And whenever you talk to the people who really know about the genetics of the situation, there's I think over 20 different potential chromosomal alignments that'll have an effect on your gender and sex, right? Like, there's an entire spectrum of feminine leaning people born with female genitalia and masculine leaning people born with male genitalia. And then there's obviously the masculine leaning people born with female genitalia and the feminine leaning people born with male genitalia. And there's a spectrum of how you can turn out, right? And I think that you should just be chill with being how you are. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, if you're really not happy, go do what makes you happy. I'm for that. But again, I just wonder how many people have just been mind fucked by the way we talk about things. You know what I'm saying? The way we frame things. Like, bro, that's not necessarily for girls. You're a boy and you're into that? Cool. That's for you, buddy. You want to play with that fucking Barbie? Go play with that fucking Barbie.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a matter of identification with words, and that all relates to how the things that they liked were related to.
Yeah.
in the beginning. And I just wish that these people weren't so tormented, bro, because there's a big mental health issue in the trans community. And I'm not saying that being trans is a mental illness. I'm saying that people who are trans are oftentimes suffering from anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder. And, a lot of these things are coming from lack of fulfillment from their family, not accepting them for the way they are. Yeah. And there's like all this shit that plays into it, right? And I just wish that we didn't have this demographic of people who were having such a hard time on the inside, and I feel like a lot of it just comes down to words. I really do feel that way.
I think that
is that a crazy idea?
No, I don't think that's crazy.
I'm certain I'm going to get canceled for that.
I think that you can be tolerant without having to deny reality.
Well, it's
I think that like
I don't have to understand it to accept it. Like, bruh, like I don't understand why Jeffrey Dahmer ate people's fucking brains, but he did it. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand why some people identify as women, but they do, and that's just what it is. I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life. I just wish that we could speak about things in a more considerate manner on the come up, so that people weren't so tormented by the way they're having to identify with the things that they appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like that's pretty apt.
It's a pretty fucking base, bro.
I mean, yeah.
It's one of the first times I've ever actually said that idea out loud to a human. I've just been like kind of like rattling that one around for a while.
Hopefully you don't get canceled. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if I get myself canceled, then mission accomplished. Like I told you before the interview, if you're the guy who gets me canceled, you're going to be guest of honor for life. Like for real.
Yeah. No, it's weird. We're living in a weird time, man, where people are acting like up is down and down is up, and we're all being expected to play along with that and pretend that it's not. We're not all going. You know what's at a fundamental level. This is a binary. It's always been a binary. It's either XX or XY. I mean, that's literally at a chromosomal level what we're working with. So
you know what's weird to me is that we've gotten to this point where, bro, this is a republic. Like, we do things democratically type shit. Like, this is literally a place where majority rules, right? Yeah. And now the biggest concern of the majority is pandering to and making life better for the minorities, right? Like what percentage of the community in America is trans? Less than 2%? Like,
it's going up.
3%? Either way, the bottom line is that we've got 97% of the community bending over backwards for 3%. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I just think that it can be.
I don't think that's necessarily accurate either.
I think it can be.
This is what I think. I think you have a very vocal minority of people that are clapping at everyone that disagrees, right? Then you've got a vocal minority of people opposing it, the people that are brave enough to say some shit. And then you've got this whole swath of people that I think is probably the majority. It's probably in the bell curve. It's the middle of people who are just, they don't want to say anything. They don't even want to have an opinion. This goes back to the stand-up thing and the fear of criticism, all this. They're afraid to say what they think. That's the problem. You want to talk about one of the biggest problems in America? It's all you fucking people out there. Quiet motherfuckers. Don't say shit. Be vocal. If you disagree with something and your opinion's not the popular opinion, fuck that. Popular is bullshit. I don't give a fuck about popular means nothing.
You said Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from Rick is, yeah, that's why popular people are fucking stupid. Like, people like to be around
popularity
people that they
is
agree
fickle,
with.
And it's bullshit. It's not real. It's not substantive. It's the same thing as clout or anything. It's not a tangible thing that really actually exists. Yeah. Doesn't matter. But the problem is the crazy things they get not only just put like given, credence, but like put forward because there's so many people that are just quiet. If more people spoke up in like mass, that the reasonable people, what I would call the gray area people, there's the black and whites, right? There's the ones that operate in the dualities,
there's
the
everybody
binaries.
with their head down.
The funny thing is the people that act in the most binary mindsets are the ones that are saying there's an endless amount of genders. Isn't that great? It's like you're the one operating in this. It's either you're on my side or you're the enemy. There's gray area. People don't acknowledge it. You know how you know there's gray area? Spell gray.
Grey.
Gray.
That's a fact. It's a fact. They both.
Do you know that both of us technically are not incorrect?
Yeah. No. It's true.
You could say there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah, it's true.
It's dumb.
It's funny though.
Dumb.
one thing, so man, I really do believe in my heart of hearts, because we've talked about a bunch of like issues in this podcast, and that isn't typically the way it goes. And
It is when you're talking to me.
it's okay, but I like solutions, and I really do believe that the answer to all of this that we've talked about so far is love, in the most sincere way imaginable. And I'm not saying that necessarily if we just start treating people with love right now, it's all going to be better tomorrow, right? But truthfully, these issues that people have, if they'd been treated with love appropriately on the come up, they wouldn't be having these issues now. And we need to start that cycle of change now, bro.
It doesn't even have to go that far, dude. People need to start treating themselves with love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, bro. So
it starts there.
Yes, absolutely.
It goes back to the what is your opinion? You should care more about your opinion of yourself than you do the opinions of other people.
Yeah, bro. Self-love is absolutely valid.
If you're working and you don't have that baseline, then you're working with nothing. You're building on a foundation of sand.
I've been saying
so really I think I agree, love, but love for self. And for people to stop caring so much about what other people think.
You know, I've told myself a bunch, if you're not good enough for yourself, you're not going to be good enough for anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just a fact. And
you might become the outcast because of something you think or do or say, and maybe you deserved it.
But listen, I would rather be in the majority of one, leading my best life, being true to myself, and be ostracized. Like, buddy, I've been there. Like you said, you fucked up and been kicked out. I've been fucked up and I've been kicked out, bro. It's fine. You're fucking fine when that happens. It sucks when it happens, but buddy, you come out the other end of it. And so, you know what you need to fucking learn, everybody?
Well, luckily I did. Yeah, not everybody does.
But like to everybody, right, is stand on your own two fucking feet, put your chest out and let your goddamn dick hang and say what you know is true in your heart, because
that's a sexist comment, dude.
I don't give a fuck, because the only fucking truth that really exists in this world, the only truth that really exists in this world is the truth that's in your heart, bro. And if you're not true to that, then you're gonna be depressed.
Like Placid, she's like, if I had a dick, this is the part where I'd tell you to suck it.
Yeah, R.I.P. Betty White.
R.I.P. Betty White.
But really, you can, if you're in a majority of one, right, where you know that you are leading your most truthful life, then the criticism doesn't matter. The criticism only matters whenever you're trying to lead a life that you think other people want. And then you get disappointed because you tried to do that thing.
Because at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror.
Well, it's like you tried and failed. You tried to lead a life you thought other people would like, and then you failed. Well, if that's going to be the case, lead a life that you like, because you can't fail yourself. You know what you want, bro.
You can lie to everyone in the world, but you cannot lie to yourself.
Deep down, you know what the fucking...
You cannot lie to yourself.
Deep down, you know what the fucking dealio is. And when I did that big heroic LSD trip, bro, I had my heart weighed against a feather of truth in the hall of Anubis, my man.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds crazy.
Yeah, so Anubis is the Egyptian god of death.
Uh-huh.
And they literally weigh your soul against truth.
Okay.
And they took me through every second of my entire life, bro. And they were asking me why I was acting the way I was acting. And as long as I was whenever I would try and put my consciousness in that place in space and time to try and connect with it, they were all it was already there. The galactic consciousness was already there. It had already experienced it. And it was just trying to give me the nut check to see if I was going to be real with myself and it when my heart was on the scale type shit. And that's the fucking lesson, bro, is you can't lie to yourself. As long as you know you've been a shitbag and you admit that to yourself and you fucking try your best to learn from it, and you know in your heart you've tried your best to learn from it, or even if you didn't try and learn your best from it and you're still just a buck with yourself about that, you're going to do a lot better when it comes time for the big nut check at the end, right? You got to keep it real with yourself. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Because if you're lying to yourself and you're not leading a life that's true to yourself, you're going to be anxious and depressed, because you're going to be leading a thing that's disharmonious, right? Your spirit and your body aren't going to be in harmony, because you know what you want deep down and you need to be going for that.
Yeah. That's basically my favorite poem. This relates to that.
Damn, fuck yeah.
The Man in the Glass.
I'm unfamiliar. I can look it up.
When you get what you want and the struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, go to the world, go to the mirror, go to the world, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. Sorry, ladies, this is a sexist poem. For it isn't your brother or mother or wife who judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the one to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear up till the end, and you've passed the most dangerous, difficult test. If the man in the glass is your friend, you can fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. That's it.
Fucking beautiful, my man. That is...
It's one of maybe my favorite poem ever.
Homie, that is some truthy ass truth if I've ever heard it. That's some real shit. I really, really appreciate that one.
That's a good one.
But man, we've been going for an hour, dude. I think that's a perfectly appropriate place to end the fucking podcast, man. We fucking ended it on a dank ass poem that fucking matters, bro. Like, I think anybody who listened to this is gonna end on that note and be trending in a positive direction at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say I thought we started cooking about like 10 or 15 in, but yeah, man, that's cool, dude. Let's do it. Whatever. It's your cast, man.
Well, I mean, I usually keep it out to about an hour.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
But I mean,
I didn't know if you cut it, went back, and I podcasted a lot, so I've done it in different ways where I cut it later. And all that,
bro. We keep it all, man.
Nice.
We keep it all because again, I'm not worried about it. Like whatever. Like it. This is a bunch of fun for me, man. This is for me. The podcasting stuff is much more about serving me, right? This is what I like to do. It gives me to have interesting conversations with interesting people. I get to build relationships with cool folks. I get to make good content that I think is actually uplifting for people out there in the world. And it just seems like a good thing, right? Like it was good for you. It was good for me. It's going to be good for people who check it out on the internet. And that's really what I want is to just create positive waves out there in the world, man.
I think that's a good thing, man. Yeah, you got to try to be just if you can either be darkness or you can be light. And I think for me, it's like that's my whole thing is when I did LSD, and I'm not going to try to go expound on this like because I know we're wrapping it up, but just in terms of the experience for me, like there's been a few different trips, but the very first one, it was like the opening up of this realization of like how some people are bright and some people are dark, and I'm talking about like their aura, their energy, the way they move. And it probably sounds ridiculous, but not to you maybe, but if to someone who may not have done anything like that before, that I could detect it. I had this hypersensitivity that I don't have it now. It was limited to when I was during the experience, but like where I could really literally feel brightness from people or dark sense, like cold darkness. And as I was encountering people because I did it in Vegas because I'm a maniac. And so it made me realize like, holy shit, like there is this thing that is an aura. And then I realized what I'm trying to do. And that's like, I'm trying to go up to the people who are dark and illuminate them. So I like that to me is like what I go for. I try to like illuminate people with like at love, like giving love and acceptance in openness to people, in vulnerability to a degree, not to the point where like your opinion of me is going to make all of a sudden ruin me or something, but vulnerability in like letting a person know, hey, I'm like, it's okay to like feel not adequate because none of us are adequate, but we're all also completely adequate. Like it's like none of us are perfect, but we're all perfect. Like you know, in a sense that, so
when you get to the end of the rabbit hole, you got to speak in riddles. It's the only way it really makes sense, man. Yeah. And like I've seen the thing that you've seen, bro. You're on it. Anybody who's seen the thing is going to hear what we just went through, and they're going to be like, yeah, they definitely. And then also if they could just put some LSD in the water supply, I think that would help. Man, it would be really bad for a very small percentage of the population, but you know, that's hey, if we're looking Darwinism. If we're looking at it like utilitarianism, utilitarianism, is good. It's like does it create the most happiness and alleviate the most suffering abroad? Like, some people suffered, but man, look at all the happiness. But on the subject, I really love what you're talking about. How you're going and illuminating people, bro. A lot of people are really, really despondent because of how yucky things are on the planet right now. Yeah, and I can acknowledge that it's real. Yeah, but here's the deal, bro. Is if we turned off all the lights in this room and it was completely dark and we struck one match, all the darkest dark would have to go and crawl behind the corners. They would have to go and live in the shadows. Like, you understand that light is so much more motherfucking powerful than darkness, bro. Oh, yeah. And So if we're in a room like this and I tried to create a point source of darkness, the light would smother it.
Yeah.
And so the moment that someone like us shines, the darkest of the dark has to just recede to the shadows, bro. And it just creates an environment where anybody who's trying to illuminate can, because we've cast those shadows off. You know what I'm saying?
It goes back though to the loving of self, and if you feel love within yourself, but you're afraid that love doesn't exist, then as long as you feel love within yourself, then it thereby does exist, even if only within yourself. That's light.
I mean, bro, like I said earlier, we're all one big thing. And so the love that you can feel for somebody else that's a reflection of the love that you can feel.
Well, and I can relate to the people that that are in the dark. I've sat in the dark for a while, and not fun. Yeah. I got out of it, luckily, but and if you're in the dark, like, listening to this, like, know that, again, if the only light in that dark is the light coming from within you, that is still light, brother or sister.
Absolutely, man. And I love you unconditionally, and you should love yourself unconditionally, and that's a perfectly valid thing, man. Love yourself, love the people around you, good vibes for everybody. Again, one last time, what's your name, where they can find you online?
Cody O'Dell. Find me on Instagram, Cody.O'Dell. And stay tuned for a brand new podcast I was telling you about.
We didn't even get to talk about it.
It's okay. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of information. It's been limited. It's going to be launching this year, 2023. Sooner.
There's a whole lot of 2023
South by, during South by. So in the next few months. We're going to be getting together this season, I guess, if you want to call it, or whatever it'll be. But it's going to be an ongoing thing once it starts. But it's launching. It's called Dumb and Drummer. And so you can stay tuned for that. It'll be
beautiful.
Yeah. I'm dumb, and I also have a drummer who's a professional drummer here in town, Tony Fat Hands Corsaro, on that. And we're going to be having some really cool guests. We've already actually had a couple of really cool guests, and we're slated to have like several more. And so stay tuned. It'll be coming out. It'll be on all platforms for sure, YouTube and streaming across everything, Spotify, all that.
Well, dude, I appreciate you so much for coming in and being my cool guest today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me, brother. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime. We
absolutely will. We'll get together, text, get a date on the calendar. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you all so much for tuning in. Yes, sir. Everybody, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is Joshua. This is Cody. We'll catch you all on the next one.
Monkey mouth. Monkey mouth. Monkey mouth.